This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
We are the sickest country in the world. That's why we have to fire people at CDC.
Elementary, middle school, bell-to-bell band is great. I think for high school students, they're going to be transitioning into a modern world.
Unreal. That's how it was. It was just amazing. Those are the only words I can use for it.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Good afternoon and welcome to the broadcast. I'm Family Life News anchor Sarah Harnish. Vaccine volley. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. spent the day before Congress defending changes to vaccine recommendations.
You have the facts wrong in there.
Excuse me, can I have my time back?
He was also questioned about the firing of CDC officials.
We are the sickest country in the world. That's why we have to fire people at CDC. They did not do their job. This was their job to keep us healthy. Thank you. And I need to fire some of those people to make sure this doesn't happen again.
There were hours of heated exchange.
You're the Secretary of Health and Human Services. You don't have any idea how many Americans died from COVID?
I don't think anybody knows that because there was so much data chaos coming out of the CDC.
You don't know the answer of how many Americans died from COVID. This is the Secretary of Health and Human Services.
Many lawmakers are calling for Kennedy's resignation, saying he's spreading misinformation. Texas lawmakers have passed legislation that cracks down on mail-order abortion pills. CBS reporter Michael Wallace.
It's already illegal to provide abortion pills in the Lone Star State. This bill will allow residents to sue doctors, abortion pill makers, and delivery companies like UPS and FedEx for damages, even if those residents have no connection to a pregnant woman. Opponents say the legislation deputizes Texans as bounty hunters and may illegally export Texas law across state lines.
Supporters say doctors in other states should be held accountable for shipping drugs into the Lone Star State that are illegal there. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had a busy day today. First, a phone call with Donald Trump and then an in-person meeting with leaders in Europe. CBS reporter Natalie Brandt.
Zelensky on social media, in speaking about this meeting, said that they discussed in detail each country's readiness to make a contribution to ensuring security on land, at sea, in the air, and in cyberspace.
President Trump wants the U.S. Supreme Court to step in and save his tariffs. A federal appeals court ruled last week that Trump had exceeded his authority, imposing steep levies on nearly every country. According to the new filings, Trump is asking the high court to hear arguments on the case in early November. The lower court's ruling allowed the tariffs to remain in effect until at least October 14th. House Speaker Mike Johnson spoke about President Trump's reaction to the release of the Epstein files. He says the president would meet with Epstein's victims.
I suspect he probably will. Yeah, he has great compassion for them. The president has a very compassionate heart. He hates the fact that these women suffered those harms. He hates what Epstein is accused of and who he was.
Trump had called the release of the files a Democrat hoax. Week 1 of the NFL regular season has finally arrived. The defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles will raise their banner before hosting the division rival Dallas Cowboys tonight. The Eagles are celebrating their second Lombardi trophy after throttling the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 59. Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, the electrification of New York State. How's that statewide smartphone ban coming? And a sit-down with Breakpoint's John Stone Street. What is truth? But weather next with Kevin Williams.
Here is your Family Life weather forecast for this afternoon. Turning out cloudy with showers and a couple of heavy thunderstorms moving through the area into the early evening hours. High temperatures today, 70s and low 80s, dropping back into the 50s. Tonight, for tomorrow, it's a mix of clouds and sunshine, just a slight chance of a shower. High temp 70s. Much cooler Saturday, mainly cloudy. We'll have rain Saturday. The focus of the rain will be the morning hours across central New York and central and eastern Pennsylvania. High temperatures on Saturday, mostly in the 60s.
Thank you, Kevin. Checking the stories making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. Hundreds of people packed inside the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library Wednesday night as Republican lawmakers warned about Governor Kathy Hochul's new energy plan set to take effect January 1st. New York State has implemented a ban on natural gas in new houses and businesses that are being built. State Assemblyman Paul Bologna says you can't cut natural gas without hitting New Yorkers in the wallet fast.
There's no clear step-by-step plan on how to get there.
It's not just a problem, it's impossible.
He says Governor Hochul's climate change policies will dramatically impact your power bill.
So there has to be a balance here between responsibly shepherding our economy and responsibly helping our environment. Climate change can't be fought on the backs of New Yorkers.
The legislation requires new buildings to be fully electric, meaning fossil fuels, natural gas, heating oils, and propane will be prohibited in new structures to reduce emissions. A little more on New York's governor. Kathy Hochul is determined to go nuclear. Here's Family Life's Mark Webster.
Yeah, as in nuclear power. Democrat Kathy Hochul talking about a nuclear energy roundtable held in New York City, bringing together leaders from New York, the U.S., and Canada in a gathering hosted by the State Power Authority. Hochul says adding new tech nuclear plants to New York's energy arsenal is critical to assuring the Empire State's energy independence. This summer, Hochul directed the Power Authority to come up with plans for at least one new nuclear power plant capable of at least 1 gigawatt of generation, a project she says will also generate plenty of new jobs for New York State. Mark Webster, Family Life News.
The Pennsylvania Pharmacy Board is acting to protect COVID shot access under the Trump administration. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro says CVS pharmacies in the Keystone State will begin administering COVID vaccines. He says this will ensure senior citizens and those with underlying health conditions can get protected from the coronavirus. Last week, CVS had announced it would only give the shot to those with a doctor's prescription. And it's a few days into the new school year, and the jury is still out on the effectiveness of New York's new bell-to-bell smartphone ban. With districts starting to get back into the swing of things, these parents tell Spectrum News what they think of the digital device restrictions.
I think there's no business for them being in school. It's not necessary.
I like the lack of distraction.
I think that any time that you can make sure that instructional time is not being interrupted by devices, you're supporting student learning. Elementary, middle school, bell-to-bell ban is great. I think for high school students, they're going to be transitioning into a modern world where cell phones are used every day by everyone. And I think we have a duty to educate students on appropriate uses of cell phones.
I'm a retired school teacher, and I believe strongly in banning them in classrooms.
Say this is your last moment. Say you're not able to text your parents in your last moment. That's horrible.
The smartphone ban includes exceptions for students with disabilities, those with health concerns, or kids who speak English as a second language. Next at 5, our own Bob Price sat down with Breakpoint's John Stonestreet on a groundbreaking film available for free tomorrow. Let's listen in.
This is a film that is to inform us of the cultural moment and inspire us to take this calling seriously.
John Stonestreet, our guest. You hear him every day on Breakpoint on the Family Life Noon Report, partnering with Focus on the Family, this new project, Truth Rising. It's a documentary that is free of charge, and it drops, I believe, noon on Friday, September 5th. John, this is a labor of love, I know, for you. I got to ask you the great question. You talk about that civilizational moment in Western culture. I wonder, is this something unique to Western culture? Is this something every country in every corner of the world is facing this unique moment in our history?
Well, no civilization has ever had the impact globally that the West has, right? I mean, we often joke about when someone in America sneezes, then, someone in the other side of the world catches a cold.
Yeah.
And that certainly has happened ideologically. But, the thing about civilizations, we usually are reading a history book or we're in a museum looking at artifacts, and that's because civilizations don't go on forever.
Yeah.
Civilizations rise and civilizations decline and eventually disappear. The greatest civilizations in the history of the world are now in museums. So our fate is no different. Now, that doesn't mean that our task as Christians is to, quote unquote, save Western civilization. I don't know what God has in store. What I know is we're at a pivot point for Western civilization. Think about a flower that's rooted. There's something giving it life and animating it and making it beautiful and shine. If you cut off that source, then it's going to still look good for a while, but it's going to wither and die.
Yeah.
We're in that moment. So the question is, how now shall we we live? What's it mean to be faithful to Christ at such a critical moment?
Yeah, I imagine part of that decline has to do with the fact that truth has become so subjective in our culture.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder why that is. Why has truth become so subjective in our culture today?
There is a direct correlation between God and absolute truth, right? If you believe in many gods, you believe in many truths, and there's nothing consistent. If you believe there is no God, then truth is whatever comes to the individual. But you can't animate a civilization with that.
Yeah.
In the last decade or so, that's become clear, where we've harmed children and called it healthcare.
Yeah.
Right? We are calling up, down, and down, up. And eventually, that civilization that is rooted in those new ideas is going to wither and die. So absolutely, we are saying that there are voices that are realizing this, that subjective notions of truth cannot be sustained, and that's one of the reasons the simple act of telling the truth, loving the truth, living by the truth can have such an incredible difference.
That's Breakpoint's John Stone Street and our own Bob Price talking about the new documentary Truth Rising. You can subscribe, listen to, and share this feature and all of Family Life's original podcasts at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or at familylife.org.
Not all protection plans are created equal. Hi, I'm Rob West with today's Faith and Finance Minute. Home warranties promise to cover appliance and system breakdowns, but often leave homeowners frustrated. Many policies come with hidden fees, limited service networks, and replacement items of lower quality. In fact, the Better Business Bureau receives thousands of complaints about home warranty companies each year. These plans typically cost between $300 and $600 annually. Instead of paying that, consider setting aside the same amount in a savings account dedicated to home repairs. Proverbs 21:20 says, "The wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down." In other words, wisdom looks ahead and prepares for the future. So self-insuring may be the wiser option. Connect with a certified Kingdom advisor who's been trained to deliver financial advice that aligns with your Christian values by visiting our website, faithfi.com.
Coming up on the 5 o'clock report, one Pennsylvania teenager got the surprise of her life when a former professional athlete sent her a message on social media. You know his name. That story after weather.
Good afternoon. Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. Well, we've got an active afternoon with the arrival of a cold front. Showers and thunderstorms will be rolling through the area, some packing a wallop. Behind the front, much cooler air arrives for the upcoming weekend. For this afternoon, turning out cloudy with showers and a couple of heavy thunderstorms moving through the area into the early evening hours. High temperatures today, 70s and low 80s, dropping back into the 50s. Tonight, 40s in areas in far western New York and western Pennsylvania. For tomorrow, it's a mix of clouds and sunshine, just a slight chance of a shower. High temp 70s. Much cooler Saturday, mainly cloudy. We'll have rain Saturday. The focus of the rain will be the morning hours across central New York and central and eastern Pennsylvania. High temperatures on Saturday, mostly in the 60s.
All right, Kevin, finally at 5, a Pennsylvania teenager who's a rising athletics star got a big boost from someone whose athletic fame is already well known. Tamara Humphreys is a freshman wrestler at the University of Pittsburgh Johnstown, a standout now, although she tells KDKA it wasn't always so.
I went 5-15 my first year against only boys, so I had a lot of catching up to do.
She's more than caught up since, though, and her story caught the attention of basketball great Shaquille O'Neal, who wanted to literally help her on her journey.
He DM'd me on Instagram. It was just like a casual DM, and I'm just like, is this like real?
It was, and so was a surprise gift from Shaq, her first car to make it easier to get to practices and tournaments.
Unreal. That's how it was. It was just amazing. Those are the only words I could use for it.
Via video, he urged her to pursue her Olympic dreams, and she plans to do just that.
I'm going to keep my journey live for everybody, and we're going to all do this together and get some Olympic titles.
Tamara Humphreys with a bright future ahead. And that's the world that we live in for Thursday, the 4th of September. I'm Sarah Harnish, and this is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.